Oh, a spider got in my room.
When the crypt doors creak and the tombstones quake,
Spooks come out for a swing and wake,
happy haunts materialize,
and begin to vocalize. Grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
Child's Play, what an entertaining movie series.
It's become a rather silly movie series, but Chucky, and to a lesser extent Tiffany, have become horror movie icons. For a movie about a killer doll, it had good acting, for the most part, good cinematography, and a solid direction. Yeah, it's not really scary anymore, going for more of a over-the-top horror comedy direction.
What would Martha Stewart say?
Fuck Martha Stewart!
But the first movie, in my opinion anyway, was legitimately scary. Especially this scene.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Ooh, gives me goosebumps every time. Honestly, the hardest thing to believe in the original is a single parent working in a department store in Chicago could afford that big-ass apartment. Look at the size of that living room! The idea was ridiculous, sure, but even the silliest ideas can work with the right writers. 99% of 80s cartoons can attest to that.
Thundercats! Ho!
So this whole killer doll movie idea is not particularly new.
Fans of the classic Mystery Science Theater will recognize Devil Doll, a killer doll movie made in 1936, and even earlier is The Great Gabbo, made in 1929.
I'm laughing.
Killer doll movies would sprout up every once in a while, but the genre really sped up in the 80s, early 90s, which can be attributed to Child's Play's popularity. Really? And once something becomes popular again, you bet your sweet ass there's gonna be copycats.
And only 8 years later, we got a movie that nobody wanted or asked for, Pinocchio's Revenge.
The movie opens on a dark and stormy night where a policeman officer almost hits a car parked in... Wait, what? Kevin Tenney?
But you directed Night of the Demons.
Well, that's depressing. Anyway, the really young-looking cop follows the path to a man burying his kid in a really shallow grave.
Don't move!
Who the hell gave the Boy Scout a gun?
The killer gives up, and the following morning, a group of cops stand around and watch a single guy dig up the grave. What dicks?
What the hell? What the hell is that? What is that? What the hell have we got here, huh?
Why is he getting so upset? It's a doll. That's gonna be our killer doll, huh? Okay.
Now present day, the father's attorney, Jennifer, tries to overturn his conviction for the murder of his son. See, before the son was murdered, there was a number of child murders in the area, all ending after the father was caught burying his son. He was never convicted of the other child murders due to lack of evidence, but it was still shown to the jury in the original trial.
An alibi for a murder that your client was never charged with is not valid grounds for an appeal.
But Judge Olson...
I have tits, Your Honor.
Huh. Nice tits. Convincing argument. So back at Jennifer's house, she goes through the crime scene photos.
Chalk outlines, really, in 1996?
You know, she had to have seen these photos before, but she acts like this is the first time she's seeing them. Also, if she's a public defender, she should be kind of used to seeing crime scene photos all the time. This leads us to the introduction of Zoe, Jennifer's daughter.
Zoe, what are you doing up?
They're dead.
All right.
She takes Zoe back to bed and tucks her in, and during this scene we find out that Zoe's father is out of the picture and she's obviously suffering because of it. And then Zoe drops this little gem regarding a dream she had.
About Daddy.
Him and his new girlfriend, they were both dead.
Oh, okay. You gonna just let that one slide by there, Mom?
The next morning, Jennifer goes into the office to see the evidence she requested showed up and...
Why is that not in an evidence bag? You can give it any angle you want. He's not scary.
Cut to an all-girls school where I guess they send all the weird-looking little girls. I'm kidding, don't hit.
Just plain Matilda.
How did she not see that being thrown across the room right in front of her face? I mean, how oblivious can you be?
Well, when Matilda finds it, she thinks it's gonna make her beautiful and popular. But all it really does is make her stuck up and mean.
Ooh, the acting. We might be asking a little too much of these kids.
Okay, next week we're gonna start Dr. Dolittle.
Good. Beth loves to do little.
Ooh.
Back to Jennifer, where she's talking to her client, the guy with the shovel from the beginning, about possibly getting his murder conviction overturned. Her client's not too happy about this.
Ooh.
Why did you bury him with a puppet?
It was his favorite. I made it for him myself.
It's not exactly the actions of a deranged murderer.
Parents will sometimes do fun activities with their child before they murder them. These same parents may also place dolls or other toys next to the body, so it's not really that odd.
Who really killed those children? Is it someone close to you? Is that why you're protecting him?
Again with the hand thing. It's not scary.
My house this Friday after school.
Zoe tries to invite kids in her class to her birthday when should have been a belly finish, steals Zoe's invitations, and tosses them into the mud, which leads to...
Come on, Beth.
Kitten fight?
Apparently kitten fights consist of just laying across one another. And Zoe pulls a Mike Tyson on the brat.
Are there just no teachers in the school?
That's a remarkably subdued reaction to someone who just chewed off part of your ear.
I told you she was crazy.
Oh, dude, I could really do without the upskirt little girl panty shots. Thank you, movie. It just...
Your mother tells me you had another nightmare.
Zoe goes to a session with her psychologist. He's awful, by the way, but I'll get into that later.
It's natural, even healthy, to be angry with them. It's part of the healing process. But it's time to move on, Zoe. You have to learn to forgive him.
I mean, come on, you're like 6. Get over it.
Later that night, Jennifer gets a call from the bully's mother.
She's understandably upset, considering she just came back from the hospital where her daughter had 2 stitches in her ear. She said you bit her.
She started it.
I don't care who started it.
We finished shit in this house, sweetheart.
She grounds Zoe until her birthday for her little Leatherface moment and sends her to her room where her au pair comforts her.
She's under a lot of stress right now. So we have to try and help her out as much as we possibly can.
I do try, really. Everything always turns out all wrong.
Wasn't this movie about a killer doll?
So despite the evidence Jennifer put forth, the judge dismisses her appeal and the conviction stands. This means the father will be put to death.
Therefore, I can find no justification in overturning Judge Olson's original sentence. Motion denied.
This is shot like it's so bad that a guy who killed his kid is gonna stay in prison.
Jennifer, is this your last hope? Will you appeal the court's decision?
Why is she shoving the microphone all in her face like this? His death sentence is carried out in front of a bunch of bored-looking people.
Well, it's a good thing they cut away before they showed that they couldn't fit that thing over the mask they just put on him.
After the execution, Jennifer goes to a church, as you do, I suppose.
Can I help you? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
No, it's okay.
Are you a member of this parish?
No.
Then get out.
Actually, technically speaking, I'm not even a Catholic anymore. I was divorced last year.
Did he get your religion in the divorce? Did it say in your divorce decree that you weren't allowed to be Catholic?
And 5 fucking years ago, you were divorced.
So what are you saying? When you get divorced, you turn in your library card, you get a new license, you stop being Jewish?
It's, sort of like Catholic light.
Run.
She has coffee with the awkward priest and discuss things that don't really matter to the plot other than setting up for the reveal later.
So I quit the firm and I took a position at the public defender's office. It's a lot less money, but the shorter hours allow me more time with Zoe.
Bullshit. If anything, working at the public defender's office would have added more hours to your workday.
Zoe's been having these horrible violent nightmares lately.
Violent nightmares? Holy shit, I know who's affecting Zoe!
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Oh, 28 minutes into this hour-and-a-half movie and we're finally back to the puppet.
How could the man who made this have murdered his only child?
Are you kidding? Look at it.
Jennifer leaves for the day without the puppet, and suddenly he's in the car. Jennifer gets home where we meet her boyfriend David, who I totally thought was her gay best friend at first until they kissed at the end of this scene. They have no chemistry is what I'm trying to say.
Thanks, I owe you.
That's true. And I'm gonna collect later.
He looked like he was miserable saying that line.
The birthday party finally starts and yeah, great idea, kids. Make sure you all huddle extremely close while someone who's blindfolded swings a big stick.
Question, why'd they have this little girl's party at like 11 o'clock at night?
Pinocchio was mistaken for a toy by David and brought it in for Zoe, where she immediately takes a shine to it.
A smelly used toy, thanks, Mom!
The party ends around 6 in the morning based on that light from outside. Oh, finally, Jennifer and David have some alone time.
Ugh, there's absolutely nothing sexier than watching two actors who have absolutely no chemistry make out.
Jennifer puts Zoe to bed so they can go back to I hardly want to touch you kisses.
Time for some good old 90s horror movie awkward sex scenes.
Okay, for you younger people in the audience, you have no idea how awkward it was to be a horror movie fan in the 90s. Because back then, it was almost a requirement to have at least one sex scene that may or may not directly lead to those characters' deaths. It didn't really matter as long as there were tits involved. Oh, and Zoe was awake during the whole thing. Never too late to scar your kid for life.
So hot.
I wish you were a real boy. And I wouldn't be all alone.
You just had a birthday party with like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 kids?
Oh god, not this guy again.
You do like David, don't you?
Yeah, he's okay, but
he wears more pink than I do.
If he takes my mom away, then I won't have anybody.
But enough about that scene. How about a new scene?
I tried to explain it to him after he heard you and David in your room.
Do you want to talk about it?
Like what positions, Mom? Like
Jennifer gives her a doll and explains to Zoe that Pinocchio has to go back to the office.
No!
He's not ours.
Why did you bring evidence from a crime scene to begin with?
It's here where Zoe first starts talking to Pinocchio and the first time we see it move. Kind of. Oh yeah, I bet it's real comfortable to sleep with a wooden puppet there, Zoe. Zoe takes Pinocchio with her to school to keep Jennifer from taking her back to the office. Only the freckled freak and her golem friends steal him and toss him over the fence. Pinocchio decides he's going to use a bus driver's incompetence to his advantage and answer my prayers to kill this dumb kid.
Why was that bus driver driving through the playground?
Oh my god! I think she's okay.
Oh, what? You didn't kill her, movie? Yeah, I forgot. Horror movies almost never kill off kids anymore. They should take some notes from Sleepaway Camp.
You're a funny man, Barry.
What's that?
Well, thanks to you, my daughter's now completely attached to that damn puppet.
What puppet?
The one you put in my car on Friday. Pinocchio.
He's clearly confused by what she's talking about, and this plot point is just brushed aside. I wouldn't harp on this, but a lot of the plot leans on someone putting the doll in the car, and it's never brought up again.
Do you know that she could have gotten seriously hurt?
Pinocchio didn't mean to do a bad thing. He just...
Guys, stop fighting about me in front of me. Jennifer talks to David regarding Zoe, and he suggests they move in with him, but she's unsure.
Here. Spoon me.
So, no sex then? Okay.
How else will you know it's a police station unless you have police cars with their lights on at all times in front of it?
Look, the bottom line is the deceased was a well-known pusher and pimp. To tell the truth, I don't see any jury feeling any sympathy toward him.
Maybe they'll have a change of heart when they hear how he died. See, your client, he hung him on a meat hook, and then he tortured him to death with a blowtorch. You know, he even recorded it so he could listen to it and enjoy it again and again and again.
How did she not know this?
I'm starting to think she's not a very good attorney.
Was he waiting out there the whole time?
It's bedtime, sweetheart.
Good night.
Do you want me to come tuck you in?
No, thanks.
Zoe? Are you talking to someone in there?
Just Pinocchio.
Zoe, you shouldn't tell people I talked to you.
Why not?
Here we go.
Yep, that's his voice.
I can make David go away.
What do you mean?
Zoe!
He sends Zoe to bed, then goes down to the basement in a scene that's totally not similar to that other movie's basement scene with a killer doll.
That's not the kid's fault, you're just a klutz.
As it turns out, David didn't die from the fall. However, he was injured pretty bad.
Answer me! Did you make David fall down those stairs?
No.
You're lying.
I'll admit, as dumb as this movie is, that is a clever way to avoid having the puppet's nose actually grow. The first time watching this, I had hoped he'd impale someone with a long, sharp nose, but nope.
Zoe, what have you got there?
Conscience for Pinocchio. So he won't do any more bad things.
Why do the idiots in this movie brush off very peculiar behavior from this little girl?
Back again to this hack where he's called away from the room and this happens.
I hope you're happy. Now he thinks I hurt David.
Are you sure you didn't?
What do you mean?
You know.
No, I don't. You're the one who slammed the door in his face.
Did you see me?
Shut up!
If you weren't there, how can you be so sure it was me?
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
This seems kind of familiar.
Please say something. Come on, Chucky, say something.
Later in the evening, Zoe has another discussion with Pinocchio where he claims he'd help David if she'd cut his strings.
I'm free! Free! Come on, let's go see David.
What? No! Does she not have peripheral vision? Or ears?
You know how the Child's Play movies sometimes use clever camera angles to hide the fact that there was a person in a costume and not a puppet? Well...
It's awful!
Okay.
So not only does Jennifer not have peripheral vision, apparently every single person in this hospital also lacks it.
No!
Hello? Jennifer, it's David's mother. It's David. He's gone. It was very sudden. They can't explain it.
The doctors can't explain what happened. Okay.
During your daughter's last visit, I was called out of the office for a few minutes.
I hope you're happy. Now he thinks I hurt David. What do you mean? No, I
you slammed the door in his face.
I want your permission to have Zoe committed.
Medication might also be an option.
No.
If you don't ever commit it, I'm going to have to notify the authorities.
It doesn't work that way.
Zoe has only shown, or from what we've seen, possible schizophrenia and depression, maybe anxiety given the circumstances. During her rant, she doesn't say anything along the lines of being responsible for pushing David down the stairs. To me, it sounds more like a young child trying to make sense of a death. Young kids sometimes feel like a family member's death is theirs or other people's fault. This little girl has obvious abandonment issues, and his answer is, just throw her in a mental health facility. I wouldn't normally be so hard on a movie like this, but I absolutely hate it when there's a psychologist that is poorly written and so stupid. The whole point of psychologists and psychiatrists is to avoid places like that, not immediately give up on the client and send them there. Jennifer finally thinks something is wrong and asks Zoe about what she did last night.
All right, I went outside.
Zoe, why?
I wanted to go to the hospital, okay, to see David. I got lost, so I came home.
Are you sure you didn't go to the hospital?
No, honest. But I think Pinocchio did.
That's it.
What are you doing?
What I should have done in the first place. Don't you move.
Wait.
Don't push me, Zoe.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
My motivation is confusing.
Zoe? Zoe. What are you doing with this, sweetheart?
So, not alarmed even remotely that your child was by your bed with a knife. Banana jump scare!
So remember that creepy priest guy from like 45 minutes ago? Yeah, he's back.
Do you believe in evil?
It's a job requirement in my business.
I think I know who Gato was protecting. His son. I think he found out what his son was doing, and he stopped him the only way he knew how.
Do you really believe that a child that young is capable of that much evil?
As a matter of fact, I can believe that, considering most kids I'm showing here committed murders before they were 12. And I know for a fact some of these cases were committed before this movie was made. And you know these had to have been national stories.
Or did you forget to look into that?
You didn't have to fall back on a cliche, guys.
The son of Sam, he claimed his neighbor's dog told him to kill.
Yeah, why would anybody listen to a dog with a stupid, hard-to-understand voice in a really super shitty movie?
Zoe tells the au pair she's worried about Pinocchio hurting her mom.
He's got a conscience now. Remember?
Ah, this shitty movie killed a cricket. She poured the juice for Zoe, but she drank it. What a bitch.
Zoe, are you alright?
So finally, someone else gets killed via a fire poker, and Jennifer goes home to a dark house.
She didn't leave the vacuum on to go get Zoe juice. Well, at least the movie even admits she was kind of overreacting right there.
Jennifer very slowly and very boringly walks around the house and tells the big twist!
Evil comes in all shapes and sizes.
Do you really believe that a child that young is capable of that much evil?
She's a very disturbed little girl.
Wait, it was Zoe the whole time?
I got the poke away from him, but we have to get out of here before he comes.
Zoe?
Wait, no. Pinocchio was alive the whole time. She manages to get free from Pinocchio only to be called back into the living room by her child's voice.
Oh, come on.
Wait, so it really was Zoe this whole time?
Yes, that's right. The killer this whole time has been Zoe.
As you can tell by my tone, I hate this twist. The idea itself isn't bad, it's the execution. It makes no sense because of this one scene.
Well, thanks to you, my daughter's not completely attached to that damn puppet.
What puppet?
The one you put in my car on Friday. Pinocchio.
If he didn't have a clearly confused look on his face, and it was made clear how the doll ended up in her car to begin with, I could buy the whole scenario. I know it was added for misdirection, but all it did was make the movie nonsensical.
She killed your nanny and your boyfriend, and she almost killed you.
I keep telling you it wasn't her.
The room was dark. You were suffering from a severe concussion.
I know what I saw.
Tell me something. Did you see the puppet move before or after you were hit in the head?
That explains everything.
And I'm gonna get my daughter out of here no matter how long it takes.
I hope not. For your sake, I hope not.
You're a shitty child psychologist. And that's Pinocchio's revenge.
So what did I think about the movie?
It's stupid.
So you may still be wondering why I kept bringing up Child's Play other than the fact that it lifted scenes from the first two constantly. Well, funny story. Pinocchio's Revenge was the original idea of John Mancini, the writer of Child's Play. His first draft had Chucky being an alter ego of Andy's, one that surfaced when Andy was upset. He would go after those who wronged Andy. His alter ego would have been named Buddy. I'm glad he chose to go in a different direction, as Child's Play is way more memorable. I'm guessing it got the name from the toy My Buddy. Apparently the sales of the doll plummeted after the first Child's Play. I can't imagine why. I don't have it anymore, but I once owned a Corky doll and I called him Chucky. Who, by the way, I think looks way more like Chucky than the My Buddy doll. Corky dolls had tape decks in them like the old Teddy Ruxpin toys. If you're a fan of dolls, you may want him in your collection.
Well, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.
I'm Chucky. Wanna play?